Welcome back to another episode of Cor Counsel, the show where we explore all things masculinity through 15 portals of conversation. I am your host, professional rugby player for Toulon in England, Kyle Sinckler. My co-host is Oliver James. Ollie has worked as a mentor with professional men within the world of sport, entertainment and business for the past decade. With that being said, let's get this show started. As mentioned, there are 15 portals of conversation, which are all related to masculinity, which you can see on your screens right now. From here, Ollie will choose a portal, I'll initiate a question, we will then have a conversation for around 10 to 15 minutes on an answer which is directly related to men. Look, we all know you've got things to do, so we're just going to get straight to the point. But before we do, I just want to say a massive thank you to our friends and partners at Vivo Barefoot for sponsoring the show. Guys, no matter what your profession is, if you're passionate and serious about fitness, wellness and performance, you have to visit vivobarefoot.com for all of the latest and greatest in barefoot function and fashion. Guys, thank you so much. Ollie, it's that time of the week. What's the portal for today's show, bro?
All right. I will get the graphic up as usual. So, I've been avoiding this one for a while, actually. Let's go with number 10, ego, please.
Okay. Oh man, here we go. All right, let's go. I'm gonna start us off. Ollie, I'm gonna be pretty honest here. The portal today, ego, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty confused because you have one side that says as a man, you need a huge ego to be successful in whatever your chosen craft is. And then on the other side, you have people that say, look, an ego is a massive negative. It's a big hindrance on you. And I can think of big sporting successful teams such as the All Blacks, the New England Patriots, who have very famous sayings like no dickheads and leave your ego at the door, etc. So I want you to kind of start us off today in layman's terms, obviously, just give us an explanation into what is the ego and how best should we use it? Wow.
Okay. I think first of all, I should probably say that, I'm no sage or guru or anything like that. I'm a common man. I'll use my common tongue to explain how I've learned about the ego and I guess how I teach with regards to the ego when it comes to clients. Maybe we should start with a story in a sense, or we basically want to simplify this, yeah?
Yeah, so, exactly.
A child is born. Let's use you. Kyle is born.
Okay,
all 20 pounds and 13 ounces of him.
I knew you were going to say something like that. I think I was actually 9.5 pounds or something like that.
9.5 pounds, okay.
I was a chunky lad.
Yeah, big boy, yeah. When you open your eyes, it's going to sound a bit simple, but where are you looking?
Outwards.
Yeah, so from the day you are born, you are looking outwards. What's the first thing you see? Or it tends to be that the first person you see is who?
My mum or the doctor? The mum or the doctor? Or the midwives?
Mother, given to your mother in your mother's arms. You open your eyes. I mean, I don't know actually if babies open their eyes instantly. I'm not sure on the mechanics of that. Yeah. But essentially, I'm just trying to demonstrate a point here, which is from the day you are born, your eyes look outwards. And again, I just want to simplify what the ego is here as a normal guy, how I've understood it. I'm no sage, I'm no guru or anything like that. I just want to put it into the common tongue, so to speak. So for the day you are born, you look out. As you grow, you become little toddler Kyle, however round you were then. Big guy. Actually, I was a chubby toddler, so I understand. And you come home from preschool, whatever it is, and you have a coloring, you have a picture you painted, and you give your mother. She was the first person you probably saw, the first person you've looked out into the world at. You start to gauge your opinion of the world based on other people's expectations, the other. And you give your mother this coloring. You're coming of age now. You're becoming a toddler. You're getting older. And she says, "Wow, Kyle, what a great picture you've drawn of a rugby ball." Yeah. And she sticks it on the fridge with a magnet and she says, "Good, well done, good boy. You're receiving gratification for doing something well in your mother's eyes." And she gives you a chocolate bar.
Happy days.
We all know
It's all starting to make sense now, Ollie.
we all know what you did after that, right? As soon as you got one chocolate bar,
Yeah.
what would you do?
I'm coloring. I'm coloring in all day.
Yeah. You're becoming Picasso, yeah, as just a young toddler.
Literally.
Because you're understanding that you're getting reward, you're getting gratification in the eyes of others. So what I'm trying to demonstrate is, when you are born, there is a sense of self within you, but there's also another sense of self, a fake sense of self in a way, a bit like looking at a plastic flower. It can be built as beautiful as someone might like, but you look at a plastic flower and you know it's not real, right? Whereas you see a real flower and it's like, oh, that's real. It's like, I don't know, artificial intelligence these days. It's not real. Really, real human intelligence that goes into creating things, it feels different, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That's the same as the ego. And the ego we're talking about here, the development of this false sense of self. You start in this world with a real sense of self within you, but we look outwards. We're not taught to look inwards. And we go through the world and we're finding out what gives us pleasure, gratification, gives us an identity. It feeds the idea of the ego, the idea that it has of itself, this false sense of self. Or if I do this, I get a chocolate bar as you get older. Or if I play well, the coach gives me a pat on the back. That feels good.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to build my false sense of self, the fake flower, if you see what I mean, the artificial version of myself around what gives me pleasure. The coach likes it when I do this. My mother likes it when I do that. My father likes it when I do this. My teachers like it when I do that. My boss likes it when I do this. How long does that go on for until the version of you that you've built through your eyes, based on what the outside world thinks of you, society, a society that says, for example, this is how your morality should be. In a time of war, we will accept murder. But in a time of peace, you will go to prison. That's where we're getting our morality from society. And, that, as I've demonstrated there, can be very extreme. But ultimately, what I'm saying in simple terms is, you're born with you're born with a sense of self, which is your inner self. That's your real you, the real intelligence.
The true self.
The true self. But your eyes open outwards from the day you were born. And from there, you base the idea of yourself on what we would call the ego, the false self. And it's receiving all of its answers when it comes to who it wants to be based on the gratification it receives in the outside world. Well, yeah, that's a start.
That's a good. That is honestly the most clarity that I've had on the subject of ego. And normally the most simple things make sense to us all. Then that was pretty simple. So yeah, I feel like I have a better understanding of it all, and it's actually made me think now, in terms of my life and my career thus far, when I've been around teammates and friends, Ollie, who I might have known their true self. So we've grown up together. We've played, England age groups from under 16s to under 20s. And say, for instance, that person has now got a position of power and overnight, literally overnight, it seems like that power has corrupted them, and that person I once knew is no longer there. So like, from your experience, Ollie, like how do you maintain your true self at all times and don't allow any kind of like external influences corrupt you?
I think something like that needs to happen. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm a saint, because for sure my own ego corrupted me, and that was what led to my destruction. And in that destruction, in that chaos, through the circumstances that unfolded in my early 20s, that led to the moment whereby if I was going to continue in life, I needed to turn the gaze within. So as I say, we're born and we look outwards for the understanding of who we are. I could no longer base who I was on the outside world, because my outside world and my identity at that time had shattered. So I was forced to look within. And usually this is what will happen to somebody. There'll be an issue with their health. There'll be an issue with maybe they lose all their money, they go broke, their wife leaves them, something like that. there's a certain way that they've defined themselves, that identity, the egos, the full self has developed itself based on all these different ideas of itself. You know, who it's married to, how much money it has in the bank, what football team it supports, these kind of things.
What car it drives.
Yeah, how big its muscles are, the body. Remember, the body is just another extension of the ego. We become aware of the body. That is still ego. It's not the inner self. So for me, there were lots of different elements in my life that shattered all at once. And then I was forced to look within. So the development of a full self, like you said there, you meet someone's full self, they get a real high, they get a moment of power. You'll see that full self develop generally. And then when it crumbles, because what goes up must come down. And then a person, through some form of circumstance like that, will be forced to turn their gaze within. And that is the moment. Is then that we are able to start learning about who we really are within, and to start understanding what the ego, the full self, created in our external reality that's actually a lie. And you know, why do we have to travel through that? I think that's the big question. As I say, I'm no sage or guru, but wouldn't it make sense that this whole process happens? Why does all this happen? Wouldn't it make sense that life teaches us in this way? It teaches us to travel through what is fake so that we can understand what is true. How can you know what fake is? How can you know what true is unless you first experience what is fake? How can you know what a real flower is? Like in Hinduism, for example, they express the ego as a flower, a lotus, I think it is actually. How can you know what the real flower is if you don't first experience the fake flower, the plastic
That's true,
one?
bro.
And then isn't that amazing that you wake up in the world, you experience all of this illusion, and then something happens to you which feels catastrophic at the time.
Catastrophic, literally. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Your wife leaves you, lose all your money. You have this great, powerful position in sport, for example, like yourself, and you lose it. And then it's like, okay, I'm forced to look within. Who am I? Who am I really? And in going through that journey, you are able to understand what's true because you first learned what is fake.
I'm just thinking, Ollie, like, say, for instance, if there is someone listening in right now, watching obviously our show here today on Cor Counsel, and that literally has happened to them, you know, like they have that job that they've always thought they dreamed of, and, you know, I don't know, the company goes under, the wife of his dreams suddenly ups and leaves him, and he's left in the lurch. It's like, from what I'm kind of understanding on what you're just saying, like that in itself is actually a blessing. Once you kind of get past the initial, I guess the ego feels hurt, no?
Yeah.
Like in that moment, he feels quite hurt. But once you get past that, from what I'm understanding from you today in our episode, like that's actually a blessing.
Yeah, you're right. It is the ego that's hurt. And if you can view it in that way, I mean, first of all, I would say I would empathize with anyone who's going through something like that, because I've been through that, you know, the destruction of it. But when you do get there, I promise you, if you're listening now and you're hurt by it, it is a blessing. It is a blessing. And if you can turn the gaze within and say, you know what, it's only my ego that's offended by the loss of everything it built in the outside world through its outside gaze, the way that it was born, you know, into the world. It's not the real sense of self. It was a fake one. And actually the destruction of my life is going to enable me to turn my gaze within and figure out what I really like, who I really am. And when you start that journey, you are beginning to understand the ego. You can't drop the ego. You know, like you said in the beginning, leave your ego at the door. You can't. The ego, when it's under the control of the true self, that's when it can become a powerful weapon, an ally. But to gain control of it, you have to understand it. You have to learn about it. You have to recognize when it kicks in. So, for example, there's a good story on this. I'm gonna paraphrase it. It's not my story, but there was a martial arts master walking along the street with his disciple. He's walking along, and there's a man walking in front of them towards them, and that man punches the martial arts master in the face and walks on.
Okay.
Yeah, the martial arts master gets up, and the disciples, you know, he's shocked. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you going to do about that? I can't believe he's just done that to you." And the martial arts master carries on walking in the same direction, doesn't even look back, and says, "That's his problem." you understand
No.
that?
Yeah, I think I do. Like that, he's basically, correct me if I'm wrong, he's saying like that's his own issue because he's got control of himself, the master, obviously. He's got control of his self, his emotion, his ego. So he feels like he doesn't have to respond to that because that's not actually anything to do with him. That's that own guy's issue to deal with.
Yeah, the guy punched him in the face, knocked him to the floor, carried on walking. I mean, the martial arts master would surely be able to do something about that, right? He's a master of martial arts.
Yeah.
But his disciple's shocked, is wondering why he's not turned around, he's not going to go and do something about it. And he just says, quite simply, that's his problem.
Honestly, that credit, obviously, to you. I know you're not a big one for, a tap on the back, as you mentioned in our episode of Ego today. I know that's something that you do not like, but honestly, for you to explain in such layman's terms, such a complex subject like ego in under 15 minutes today is amazing, because in my life I've sat down with numerous sports psychologists and had numerous team meetings in whatever team I'm playing for, and I've always left that meeting more confused than when I walked in. And I feel today I have a lot of clarity on what the ego is, as I'm hoping everyone else who is tuning into our show today does as well. So Ollie, thank you as always today for your input today on our episode of Cor Counsel. Guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all our latest episodes on our YouTube channel, and do not forget to hit that like button. Also, follow us on all our social media platforms. If you want to supplement your learning in between episodes, follow Save Your World on Instagram and visit saveyourworld.com. However, and wherever you're tuning into the show today, we just want to thank you for your support thus far. It means a great deal to us. We will catch you all next episode. Take care.